Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me and happy Friday, y'all. It is Friday evening, so we're doing live readings on the channel. It is August 29, 2025. So if you guys are watching this on Saturday or Sunday, I'm no longer live. I missed you, but I hope to catch you guys next week. And if you guys can see me, give me a thumbs up and say hello in the chat. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Live tarot this evening. So if you guys would like to get a reading, scan the QR code right up here. That's going to take you to my PayPal. We're doing 1 card spreads for $20 donation and 3 card spreads for $40. And you can ask any one question you would like. And I'm excited to be back. I know we got a number of people who are already in the queue. So if this is your first time here, hello, thanks for joining. We're here every Friday. We alternate between tarot and astrology. This week's tarot. Next week's the big old lunar eclipse readings for the Pisces lunar eclipse taking place on September the 7th. So you guys don't want to miss that. If you want me to answer your questions about how the eclipse is impacting your chart, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Do that now. Click that bell button below so that way you get alerts. We will be posting probably the sign up for those readings early next week, so that way you guys can get your questions in. We've got a number of people who are already in the queue, and as a reminder, if you are a level 4 member, you guys can cash in on your reading if you have not already this month. And if you guys aren't members, why not? You should join, especially in the month of September. If you join my memberships, you support me as a full-time content creator, helping me kind of have the time and the means to be able to create my long-form content. But you're also going to get a reading during one of my lives. And we always take the level 4 people first. And then also in September, if you join my memberships on level 4, I'm going to be giving you instant access to my exclusive webinar on the eclipses for the fall eclipses 2025. So I talk all about the lunar eclipse, talk all about the solar eclipse. It's 3 hours long. I go through the 12 rising signs, ritual recommendations, predictions, how to navigate the eclipses, and it's all visual, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. So yeah, you guys can basically get a membership and you get that for free, or you guys can check it out on my website, links below at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I take private clients. I'm actually booking right now into December. So if you know that you want to get a reading in like November, December, or January, now is a good time to book. But I also teach tarot. So if you've ever wanted to learn tarot or astrology, I have beginners courses for both of you guys. All right, so let's get into it. This is who I've got. So if any level 4 people pop in that want to get their reading for the month, let me know. I know we have a couple people that can still get their reading. But Silk, we've got Briana, we've got Amiko, and we've got AR. But AR, I know who you are. And I'm happy to answer your guys' questions. We're going to be doing the readings in the order that I received them. So I appreciate your guys' patience. I'll call your name before you get your reading just to let you know that you are up next. All right? All right. So readings are open. Scan the queue if you want to get in there. We're going to start with Silk. What's up, Silk? How's it going? Man, I am not a fan of this update of PayPal. It seems like every week they're updating something new. It's driving me crazy. Let me see if I can get your question, Silk. So it looks like Silk says, "Hi, Candace. I have been grieving the loss of a family member, friends, and my old love who has now moved on officially." I'm sorry to hear that. Sounds like eclipse season is in full swing for you, girl. "It's been tough, but I've been focusing a lot on fitness and regularly going to the gym. I met someone there who I asked for help, and he said I can join his workout together. We talked and he was very kind. My question is, will I see him again, and is romance possible with this new crush of mine?" Well, that's really interesting. Let's take a look. Let's see what we got going on, what the cards can tell Silk about this new gym crush that she's got. It sounds like he kind of appeared at a time where she really needed some support. And I'm wondering if there's going to be another connection between them. Is his name Jim? We don't know what his name is. We just know that he's the gym crush. All right, let's see. What can the cards tell us about Silk's connection? Will she see him again? Is there a romance possible with this new crush? All right, so the cards are in this order. We have got the 6 of Cups, the Page of Cups, and the Star card. Oh, I love this. Reconnection for me is always the Six of Cups, right? You hear like other, tarot readers say, oh, this is the soulmate card, or it's about kind of like reconnecting with your twin flame or whatever. But I think for you, this is going to be more about, he's going to be frequenting the gym. Obviously, you guys go to the same gym, but you're going to find that your schedules are going to kind of coincide, or you're going to have an opportunity to connect with him. Particularly, I'd say over like the next couple of weeks. 6 weeks is usually kind of correlated with the Six of Cups. This is also talking about Scorpio season. So there's going to be opportunities as you're kind of getting into the beginning of November. That is the timing for this. But why do I like the Six of Cups? Well, it's talking about reconnection. It's also talking about somebody who feels familiar, somebody who's friendly, also connecting with somebody who has this very kind of gentle energy about them, and they're very receptive and they're warm, and it doesn't feel like messy or complicated. It just feels like you guys are drawn together and you're coming together at a time, and the exchange feels very therapeutic and kind of like healing. So with the Six of Cups coming up, I think it's fair to say that there is going to be a reunion. There is an attraction to each other, because cups deal with what? Emotions. So these are an element that deals with emotions. It can deal with romance. And Six of Cups means that there is like an interest in like reconnecting or working out again. Now, Page of Cups is funny because this can be talking about him having some of the qualities or the characteristics of a water sign. So it can be Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer-like energy. But this is also an offer or an opportunity, okay? And pages, it depends. I mean, they are portrayed as like young men, but this is a feminine element. So it can mean that you reconnect, you see each other, you're at the gym, and then somebody's like, hey, how's it going? Like, come here, or, how have you been? Or do you want to, work out? Or what do you got going on? There's going to be some kind of an exchange or an offer. And you see that both with the Six of Cups and also with the Page of Cups. Page of Cups can also be saying that this is like a seed that's being planted for an opportunity for growth and a new relationship potential. Ace of Cups would be another one, but I feel like the Page of Cups is saying that there is more than just like a casual interest or somebody who is just being friendly. There is the potential for there to be some kind of budding romance between the two of you, and obviously some strong chemistry and attraction. The final card that you get is the Star card, which I feel like, just in a nutshell, like I said, we're in eclipse season, so it's like people are coming and people are going, but maybe this person is coming in because there's somebody who is going to help you kind of get through this cycle, and whether it's just giving you some kind of like encouragement, or somebody who's, going to be kind of complementing your gym routine, or, kind of keeping you company, or even potential relationships. The Star card is saying that you guys come together because it's about wish fulfillment, it's about healing, and it's about feeling like you have community. So a wish being granted, if you're hoping, oh, am I going to see him again? Are we going to have the opportunity to kind of get to know each other socially outside of the gym? Is somebody going to be asking, somebody out, or to hang out and do something outside of like the gym space? I think that's very possible. The Star card is about finding your community, feeling like you're healing and you're working through, a period where maybe there has been some grief or some loss. Obviously, this card comes up, if you follow the tarot, after the Tower card. So it's kind of like after the tower's fallen and all the crisis is hit, and we're working through something that feels like very traumatic, or like, that all is lost. The Star card comes out and reminds us that we can actually focus on kind of renewal and also healing. So I do feel like this connection, with this person was meant to be, both because of the Six of Cups, but also because of this card coming up. It can also be talking about this being like a really pivotal turning point, pretty much between now and like January, February of next year. So you might want to look at what's kind of going on transit-wise in your chart then. Obviously, this deals with Aquarius, so Aquarius season can be a huge focus. And also, I'm wondering if there's a connection to like other people, like if you get to know them and then you're working out and hanging out with other people, or there is some kind of social connections and opportunities to kind of get to know each other outside of the gym. If it's going to kind of give you a build on what could potentially feel like a new community, right? So yes, the answer is yes, there's opportunity for romance, definitely seeing each other again. And I think it's going to be a warm welcome when you guys see each other the next time. Hopefully that's helpful, and sending you lots of love as you're going through your process of healing and kind of like regeneration. Good on you for deciding to turn this period into a period of like productiveness, right? Because obviously we know with Pisces season, we can get stuck in addiction. We can kind of get stuck in, this energy with the eclipses of isolation and sadness and grief, or bad habits. So it looks like you're using Saturn to your advantage over the next couple of months. All right, we have got Briana. Okay, so Briana says, hello, Candace. Since eclipse season is upon us, I'm curious about the vibe of September. I'm a Scorpio sun, Virgo moon, Gemini rising. The Pisces eclipse will be in my 10th house, and the Virgo eclipse will be in my whole sign 4th, Placidus 5th. If I can get one card of the general energy of September 2025, that would be helpful. All right, I got you. Obviously, if you're a Gemini rising and you're having the eclipses in your 4th and your 10th house, it's going to be squaring your ascendant and your descendant. So you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of finding balance between the two. But as a Scorpio sun, I think it's going to be a little friendlier because you're going to see some sextiles and trines. And obviously, as a Virgo moon, you've got eclipses with the South Node going through your moon. So emotional clear out much, especially in the 4th house, right? Whole sign. All right, let's see. What can we tell Briana about what is coming up for her during this eclipse season? Okay, not a bad card. You get the Page of Wands. All right, so first of all, pages always correlate with some kind of like new energies. It's similar to an ace, but it can also represent new people. It could represent new practices, new studies, new adventure. And this is the element of fire, which is interesting because if you got Gemini rising, you got Virgo moon, right? You got Scorpio sun. What's kind of lacking is that fire element. And you're going to have plenty of time as you get into like Sagittarius season to experience some of the fiery changes that are going to be happening, particularly in relationships. But I feel like the Page of Wands can represent you going, all right, I'm going to be a little bit more adventurous. I'm going to be willing to, bring about this change. I'm going to learn from some of the changes and also willing to take risks and take chances. I think like the storyline for a Gemini rising is that you're going to see, some of the changes because now Uranus is in your sign is going to revolve around, well, how am I getting out of some of my usual routine at home, emotionally, or with my family? You're also really tapping into like Uranus trining Pluto in your 9th. So this could mean that you're wanting to study new things, you're wanting to travel, you're feeling more independent, you have a new kind of perspective or frame of mind when it comes to how you see the world. And also feeling like you don't want to be just like at home all of the time. And Mercury's going to go through your 4th house, you're going to see the sun go through your 4th house, and the eclipses are going to be there. So you may feel like there is some tying up loose ends karmically when it comes to like the past or home and family. But really, it's about dealing with that so you can fully get out into the world and go do more of the things that you want to do. And you will definitely see that kind of coming through some of the other eclipses that are going to be playing out. Obviously, the Pisces eclipse is in your 10th house. The Virgo eclipse is in the 4th. But Page of Wands is saying that you're curious, you're adventurous, you're willing to kind of learn to roll with the punches, and you're going to be more maybe adventurous when it comes to studying, traveling, and learning. And I think a lot of that's just going to be the trine between Uranus and Gemini and Pluto that's going to be in your 9th. Watch for people who can come in also that can be encouraging you to travel or go new places, or people who are encouraging you maybe to like relocate or consider, kind of going and studying new things, because pages obviously deal with like skills and training. And it also might mean that you're just like learning new ways to kind of manage things at work, or learning new ways to be able to manage things emotionally or at home. And at least it's about action. So, Wands is always about creativity, passion, having excitement, or feeling like there can be some new career endeavors that can be kind of heating up, and like learning your way through something that's going to be new. So I'm wondering what that is, right? With that, Jupiter being in Cancer, a lot of Gemini risings, I think, are going to find that there's a lot of career success that's going to come through taking chances. Who you're partnering with, what you're investing your time into. And if you're willing to take risks, it could be big reward, especially financially, with some of those trines to Jupiter during the Pisces eclipse. It's the second eclipse that's going to be a little bit more challenging, especially if you have a Virgo moon. So I would say just be present with some of the emotional kind of clearing in the home and the family stuff that can kind of manifest at that time. And we have to look at eclipses as, two chapters or two bookends. The first eclipse around the 7th is really kind of, I think, wonderful for a lot of the signs, but it's the second one that's going to show us where there's some blockages. And I'm wondering if it's going to manifest as you being like, okay, well, in order for me, to really make the necessary changes I have to make at work, I have to get out of the past, or I have to be willing to move or relocate or even get out of the house. So really the theme here, I think, with the page is taking some risks when it comes to your professional life. Good luck. All right, let's see. Who else do we have here? We've got Emiko. What's up, Emiko? Allison's in there. We've also got Matthew V. What's up, Matt? Catching up with the chat. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do both at the same time. JJ says, hi, Candace. I'm a Libra rising like you. I've been out of work coming up for a year. Will I find a great job or should I stay at home and work on my business? Well, let me know. If you make a donation, I'll be happy to answer your question. We're doing 1 card reading for 20, 3 card readings for 40. What's up, Otterzalt? Hey, Briana. You're very welcome. Good luck with eclipse season. All right, what's up, Emiko? Aries, Sun, Pisces rising, Moon, and Taurus. So Emiko wants 3 cards. You got it. 1 card for housing, 2 cards for work energy. Been looking for my ideal rentals since the end of last year. I'm at the point of settling on the next place I look at today rather than holding out even for longer than what I want. Exhausted living with people that aren't a good fit and been looking with a good friend. For work, I got a new boat gig while working part-time at a winery. Excited for the boat job. I haven't started yet, but physically, mentally exhausted from the winery. How can I manage my energy to juggle both while also working on my own art business? All right, well, seems to me like it's like Pisces rising stuff, right? So the eclipses are going to be a lot of who are you? Saturn and Neptune's going back into your sign. The eclipse is in your sign. Versus the opposition to the 7th house, and how you're maybe spreading yourself thin between what you're trying to work on with your creativity versus the expectations and like the relationship aspects, you know, with the eclipse that's going to be in your 7th house. It's also relationship oriented as well. Obviously, you know, as a Aries sun, there's also this sense with Jupiter being in Cancer that's like, I'm looking for my perfect home, and I think you've got like really good energy there. And obviously Taurus moons, right? They really want to have like emotional stability. And Uranus is actually going to be going back into Taurus here in another couple of months. So for a lot of Pisces and Pisces risings can manifest as actually like moving and getting into something a little bit more stable. I think the eclipses are going to be really big for you in terms of focusing on your boundaries and your vision and honing in on your art, because all right, we're back. Sorry guys, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, we don't necessarily know what's going wrong. So I think we lost the audio for a second here. So just as a recap, we're doing live tarot readings. I was supposed to be doing a reading for Emiko. So if you're still here, Emiko, let me know. Amiko, AR, and Matthew V. Okay. I was like, clearly I need to stop shuffling or something and just wait. All right. So we're going to go back to Miko's question. She has a question about what's going on with work and a question about what's going on with her living situation because she wants to move. She's sick of living with people she's not crazy about. She's looking for a place. She's working 2 different jobs. But when I was shuffling, I was like, I feel like I need to do the work reading first, and then we'll do the house reading. So I'm going to give you the 2 cards for work energy, and then we're going to look at what's going on with the living situation. All right, so what does Amiko need to know about the work energy? Now she's got a new job working on a boat and also a winery, but the winery is exhausting. And for the job energy, we have the 6 of Wands and the Queen of Swords, okay, which is actually really positive. The 6 of Wands, it's about being like, you're feeling victorious in the job situation and your kind of professional life, and also feeling like you're going somewhere where you're feeling wanted, or you're feeling like you're a part of a crew, or you're celebrated and like you're excited to be doing this. So I know that you really enjoy probably having some of that Pisces placement being on the water, right? And I know like the last kind of boat job that you were working out got kind of funky, but I think it's going to be successful. And I think that you're going to find that it's leading you to be a little bit more clear about what it is that you want to be doing in terms of like your full-time gig. And also I think like more clarity in kind of leadership roles, or being a little bit more assertive, or being like feeling like you're being heard at work, right? Queen of Swords can be you. It can also talk about a connection that you're having with somebody professionally, where somebody is encouraging you, you know, they're training you, they're teaching you, they're kind of guiding you, but also showing you the ropes and putting you in a position where you're going to feel more confident, I think, taking on more responsibility in this particular role. She said, I still need that second income, so should I stay at the winery for now? Yeah, I don't really think this is about leaving quite yet. I feel like this is about staying, especially because the 6 of Wands can talk about, you know, kind of like movement or moving or making changes with your home. So I think that I would at least stay throughout that process until you get situated in a new place. But it is possible that the Queen of Swords can be somebody who's like, look, you know, can you pick up more hours? Can you, you know, do more for the company? Are you interested in, you know, taking on more responsibilities? And it can be something where they're calling you in, or they're calling you back, or they're asking you for more availability. So it can lead the way over the next 6 weeks or 6 months to giving you more freedom. And also it seems a lot less stressful. Like the Queen of Swords coming up with the 6 of Wands is what they're asking you to do, you have no problems doing, you know, kind of like the lay of the land with the boats, or, you know, being in service or hospitality on the boats, or doing tours, whatever you're doing, like you're going to feel comfortable there, and you're going to feel like you're in your element. I also feel like it's going to show you that there's room for growth within this position. So if you are wanting to kind of get out of what you've been doing, you may very well do that. As a Pisces rising, you know, it's possible you might be seeing some changes going on in the career department around the Mercury retrograde that's happening later in the year. So in November, you'll see Mercury turn retrograde in your 10th house in Sag, and it'll square some of the eclipse degrees. It's going to come into some oppositions and squares. So it might be that's when you're making a change at work. And she says, what does it mean in terms of the energy? I'm so tired. Well, it means that you're going to rally, right? Like the 6 of Wands means that you're going to rally, and you're going to feel more enthusiastic about this particular job shift. At least you're going to feel like you're around people that are a little bit more entertaining, or that it doesn't feel like draining. And the 6 of Swords is also like really kind of teaching you to kind of make decisions about where you're going to be investing your time or your energy. So if you feel like there is room to have some growth in this particular position, you might realize that it's like worth, you know, going full steam ahead trying to do this, or feeling more committed to this position if you're wanting to get out of the old position. The feeling of being drained is, I think, a combination of Saturn and Neptune, which are turning retrograde in your 1st house, and also they're going to oppose the eclipse in the 7th house. So there's a lot of reevaluating or reassessing who has access to you over the next 6 months, who you're working with, who you're partnering with, and, you know, kind of cutting your losses from people who is not necessarily kind of driving with your energy. But I do feel like you're going to feel enthusiastic, you're going to communicate well in this position, and you're going to get more clarity about where you should be. And then when it comes to the home and the living situation, obviously a lot of Pisces rising is going through changes with having Uranus in your 4th house, but it's going to be retrograde here pretty soon. So what can we tell her about what she needs to know when it comes to the living situation? She's looking for a new place. She's ready to settle. And she is exhausted living with people that are not a good fit. Well, I've got good news for you. You've got the Wheel of Fortune. So this is basically saying like something is about to shift. And this always comes up whenever we're in like the fixed sign months. So obviously it sounds like, you know, Leo season or August has been very much dedicated to like trying to find something. The Wheel of Fortune can also talk a lot about like positive, unexpected changes that can happen out of the blue. If Mercury rules your 4th house, you know, something to think about as a Pisces rising is, you know, you're going to be seeing, there's going to be a lot of Mercury aspects going on in your 7th house. Conjunct the South Node. We're going to see Mercury trine Pluto that's going to be happening around the eclipses as well, particularly the Virgo eclipse. That may actually be the one that's going to get you moving. And think about being a Taurus moon, and you're going to have like a full moon in, I think, November in Scorpio, in Taurus. Sun in Scorpio, moon in Taurus. That could also be a change. So I know you want to move now, you want to make this happen, but I feel like honestly something else is still going to kind of come along. And I would agree with, you know, Uranus going back into your 3rd house and the full moon that's coming up. You also want to watch what's going on with Venus, because Venus rules your 3rd house. So what's happening to your natal Venus, what's happening with Venus transiting in the sky. Once Venus gets into Libra, it will make an opposition to Saturn, and you got to be careful there with like finances and getting into a situation where you're renting a place that could feel out of your budget. Which is going to be, you know, happening in this next month. And I would kind of keep your eyes open for things that are going to be kind of more available, I would say October going into November. So it's really only about another month. The Wheel of Fortune is also saying there's going to be some serendipitous events that can happen that can put you in the right place at the right time to make it easier for you to actually to be able to make a move. And I think a lot of this is also with that Wheel of Fortune kind of saying like, it's like a domino effect. Like sometimes it's just somebody you meet or a chance opportunity and you start talking to them. They're like, oh, I'm looking for a roommate. And you're like, oh my God, so am I, you know, me too. Or you hear that somebody's actually renting their space or they're getting ready to move out. There is some kind of intervention that's going to be helping you with the process of being able to get into your home space, but more so connected to some of the fixed energies. So I would be watching as planets go through Leo. Right now, Venus is there. I'd also be watching as, you know, transits are kind of happening in Scorpio as well. So that's not going to start or kick in until about October, but Mars will be there pretty soon. Wheel of Fortune also makes me feel like this is about some positive changes that can happen across the board. So not just like, oh, there's good stuff happening with like the move, but it's like, well, the work stuff could actually be really positive. And I have a feeling that you might kind of completely segue into working for more of like the boating stuff or other kind of side jobs or things that come from that if you're wanting to kind of break away from some of the work that you've been doing at the winery. And I think that you're going to enjoy being there a little bit more, and it's going to give you kind of like the mental space or the capabilities of being able to really prioritize some of your like creative work. So being a Pisces rising, these eclipses are trining Jupiter in your 5th house of painting, creating, drawing, designing. And that's what you're going to be really kind of prioritizing more of. And a lot of great breakthroughs in doing work that you enjoy. So even if it's, you know, working on a boat, but really being able to do more of your artistic work. So I think that everything is going to start to kind of come, you know, to fruition, especially in November. Job changes, and you're also going to see potentially getting settled into a new home base, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Very good. The eclipses are very good for Pisces risings in particular. I think a lot of you guys are going to see some good stuff in the creativity department and also with romance as well. All right, so we've got AR, Matthew V, Alana, and Cassidy. If you hear your name, it means I've got you. What's up, AR? All right, she says, I realize 3 cards. Can you split with what is going on with the dude and new work coming in for something that is good and aligned? No problem if it's too much for 3 cards, especially with clarity about homeboy. So how many cards do you want for work and how many cards do you want for the relationship? If we're splitting it into 3, just let me know. I'll shuffle and then you pick. But AR says, what is going on with this dude? I've been in the wind for a week. And will he come back as a F-boy or with intention of something more than just a booty call at his convenience? And when? Okay. So let's look at 2 cards for the dude and 1 card for work. So what's going on with this guy? Where has he been? Is it going to be something or is it going to be a booty call? Let's take a look. Not my favorite cards coming up together, girl. We got 3 of Swords and the 3 of Cups. As a tarot reader, whenever you see this card come up together, it's not necessarily a happy ending. 3 of Swords talks about going through it, there being some emotional disappointment, some heartbreak, some grief, and obviously the Three of Swords represents like needing to kind of pull that out and needing to heal from a situation, right? So that coming up with the Three of Cups makes me wonder, what's the deal? Because I know it's not you. Three of Cups can talk about a third party interference or keeping their options open or entertaining more than one person at any given time. And, you know, it can mean, okay, I guess that the positive way of looking at this is it can mean after a series of 3 days, 3 weeks, there is an opportunity to reconnect and kind of collaborate and be like, okay, cool, now we can see each other. I was starting to get worried there. You know, I was taking it personally. I was disappointed and I was kind of like getting my heart broken a little bit, thinking that you weren't going to come back around. But they can come around, but they're not coming around in a committed sense, right? So I kind of feel like the Three of Cups is somebody coming back around, but more in kind of like a detached sense. It's like, hey, let's get together like when I'm off work, you know, or calling you kind of later in the evening at the end of their, you know, weekend, being like, are you home? Are you out? What are you doing? Like, it's not Ace of Cups that's seeking a relationship. It's not necessarily Six of Cups. That's going to be a little bit more romantic and about like this attraction and coming together more consistently or in like a relationship sense either. That Three of Cups is something that's more fun. It's casual. And I feel like I would be careful because you can get super excited with the Three of Cups coming up that you're like, oh my gosh, okay, we're seeing each other again. And now you get your hopes up. And then you kind of realize that there's like a pattern that's building where it's when he's available or when he's making time or when he decides that he's kind of open for business, you guys connect. But otherwise there's like some disappointment and also questioning and wondering like, okay, is it me or is there something else going on? No, I think that there can be somebody else that he's potentially entertaining, but I think that you're going to have the opportunity to kind of interact with him again and then be like, okay, well, what's going on? Where's your head at? Not that you're expecting him to commit or you're asking him, you know, if you're the only one, but it's like being like, okay, well, there was a lot of togetherness, and then suddenly, you know, somebody is kind of like ripping you guys apart and you're questioning like, why is there such stark contrast between when you guys were together and having such a good time and there was a lot of connection and a lot of chemistry to there being kind of like crickets. So when he comes back around, it's important for you to kind of keep in mind that this can be a pattern. So if you're not communicating with him and telling him, hey, I missed you, like, didn't hear from you, like, is everything okay? What's going on? Like, don't allow this to become a pattern and a habit between the two of you guys. All right? Okay. And then we're going to look at a card for work and what you need to know about the work stuff. She says, I will be not hanging around for that pattern. Good on you. Welcome, Mary, to level 4. Let me know if you want your monthly reading now. I recommend getting your reading now because you can get a reading next week when the new month starts as well. So let me know. And then what can we tell AR about what's happening on the job front? Anything on the job front? Six of Swords, not necessarily a bad card. This talks a little bit about being in limbo. It's kind of moving on from one thing to the other. It also kind of talks about a period of really reevaluating which step is next, right? And sometimes when the Six of Swords comes up, it's saying, well, you know, I'm segueing from one career to another, which I know that's kind of happening, but it can also mean that there is a sense of really focusing on safety, security, and yes, there can be a little bit of like mental tension. There can be some concern or worries with the Six of Swords coming up about what is next, but it's actually saying like you're covered. Now, this can mean for the next 6 weeks, you're transitioning into something new, or there is going to be some kind of training or some kind of learning or opportunity for work that could take you to another part of the city or to another neighborhood. This also means that you're moving into a direction where things are at least going to be a little bit calmer and they're going to be a little bit more stable on the work front. So if there's been mental stress, anguish, tension, communication issues, or just feeling like burnt out with what you were doing, now you're going into a period where you're like, I'm actually easing my way into this transition. Maybe I'm not doing something full time, but I'm definitely on my way to making a necessary change and like enjoying the peace and the quiet that you have now. But also this is a card that deals with like healing. You see two people that are in a boat and they're crossing the river. They're going from a situation that's been like really heavy and difficult and stressful where there's been a lot of like conflict to being like, okay, we're just happy to be here. Even if we're not getting to where we need to go yet, we know that there's a plan, and also that this is about kind of integrating like a healing phase before you get to the next chapter. So it can mean that there's opportunities for work in other places. There's training. There's also contemplating or considering, you know, other things that you can be doing kind of in the in-between. But it is limited. You can only do so much because the boat is surrounded by water. So whether that means that emotionally you're going through some changes and you're not totally ready to throw yourself back into work, or if you're continuing to kind of deal with any issues pertaining to health or wellness, that needs to be dealt with first before you're going to be, you know, completely, fully engaged and employed in a full-time gig. I do think that this card is positive because it is asking you or requiring you to do some reflection. So it means that you're kind of going, okay, rather than just kind of going in, taking a job and going right back into the same industry, or, you know, rather than, you know, doing that, you're taking your time really thinking about and being strategic about where you're going to be investing your time or your energy. There can be stuff that can come up that involves transportation. There can be a sense that you also might feel like there is some movement or some headway in, you know, communication with your old employer. So it can be stuff connected to, you know, injuries or disability. It can also be things that are kind of connected to them touching base with you, being like, hey, are you coming back? And I would say you're very detached from that. You're like, I don't know. I don't have any plans. And you're going to be very non-committal for anything for the next couple of weeks. You're more in the planning and kind of strategy phase of figuring out what you can kind of jump to next. And I think you're going to be really open-minded because the Six of Swords is like, yeah, there's a lot of things I could do remotely, or there's things that I can kind of do at a distance, and I don't necessarily need to be in a physical space. She says, makes sense given everything that's going on. But when this card comes up for me, when a client is like looking for a job or in between jobs, or they're off work for whatever reason, I'm always quick to tell them, like, be present with the process, because there's something going on here where it either wants you to rest or it's wanting you to heal, or there is a need for you to take this kind of pause moment and be using it as a way to go, all right, I'm going to actually strategize what the next step is going to be and think about where I could be long-term that could be more beneficial for me mentally as well as physically, right? Careful with that boy. When he comes back around, make sure you have that chit talk with him, and let me know what happens. I'm sure I will talk to you soon. Mary says, do I need to reserve a spot if I'm a member? No, you skip to the front of the line, you're VIP. So if you have a specific question, let me know. I'll answer your question. I've got Matthew, Alana, Cassidy, and Sasha. And as soon as I hear back from Mary, I will add you to my list. So I'll take Matt in the in-between time, and then you can think of a question. Thanks for joining level 4. All right, so Matthew's back. What's up, Matt? He says, hi, Candace. I finally worked with my coworker crush again after the New York City trip, after he canceled, and I still went to New York City with a friend last minute. Oh, hold on a second. I still went to New York City with a friend last minute, met up with more, and had a great time. He never responded to my message where I said I was hurt but understood his emergency. When we finally worked together, the first half was rough. We didn't talk at all. I eventually broke the silence and told him I thought he was mad and clarified that I wasn't. Hold on a second. I'm trying to read this. When we finally worked together, the first half was rough. We didn't talk at all. I eventually broke the silence, told him I thought he was mad, and clarified that I wasn't mad, just disappointed. I also mentioned that I still went on the trip and had a good time. He brushed his earlier behavior in the shift off, saying he just had a headache when he came in, but he never actually acknowledged my message about the trip when he canceled. Once our other coworkers left, though, the energy shifted. He and I ended up talking for hours like normal, joking and bantering, and I even helped him fix his glasses. It's confusing that he could treat me like I don't exist for almost an entire shift and then act normal again once it was just us. Why? Okay, so I didn't get the rest of your message because PayPal cuts you off, but I'm assuming you're like, what the heck is going on? So let me see if I can give you some insight with what's happening. For those of you guys who have been following, or maybe not following the Matt saga, there's a guy that he worked with, and they were going to go to New York City. He bailed last minute, had an emergency. He still went, and now they're working together again. So he goes, why was he avoiding me so hard at first? What's really going through his head about me and the trip? Moving forward, what should I do? Let him take the lead like you suggested. That was the rest of the story. Okay, cool. Got it. Let's take a look. What can we tell him about the coworker? All right, so what does it look like and what is his deal? Seems very hot and cold. Maybe he thought that you were going to be like short with him. So he kind of like put on that armor, you know? All right, we got 4 cups, 9 of swords, temperance card. I feel like it was definitely like testing the waters. Like he was going into it being like, he knew that he kind of screwed up and was probably assuming that there was going to be some sass or some issues. But honestly, I feel like the situation is kind of getting worked out. I think he was dreading going into work. You know, that 9 of swords is just kind of like somebody that's like, ugh, like, how is this going to go? Like, how am I going to, you know, like play this off, or what's going to happen if I'm going to be in a room with him? And like, you know, I was like unreliable. I really feel like he was kind of dreading it. 4 of Cups comes up as the first card. So it's saying in terms of going into work and the situation, like there is like the sense of him almost anticipating or expecting that you were going to ignore him, okay? And I think you guys were just vibing off of each other. Like you were going into it being like, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna talk to me? Like, is this gonna be weird? And he was kind of like, oh my God, like obviously he's mad at me, you know, like what do I do? And both of you guys were just thinking worst case scenario about each other, and nobody was like really moving. It was kind of like a standoff. So with the 4 of Cups coming up, what's interesting about this is obviously you see a guy that's kind of like frustrated. He's not thrilled. He's not happy. He feels like a little like disappointed. And he's kind of crossing his arms and he's sitting there and he's like not, you know, like open or seeing what's being given to him. So I don't think he gave you the benefit of the doubt, maybe until you kind of hash it out and you were like, I'm not mad. Like, I'm not mad at you. I was just disappointed, you know, and I still went and everything was great. And this is really kind of showing where he went into it assuming that you were going to like detach from him or that you were going to kind of break things off with him. But you were like, no, let me tell you about my trip, or, you know, hey, how are you doing? Or I'm not mad at you. Smoothing things over, and maybe it made him open up a little bit and made him realize that you weren't just going to, you know, cut him off because, you know, he was flaky. I do think the Ace of Cups is also good on you for being somebody who opened, you know, the lines of communication, or you still were kind of warm or receptive towards him, or you were showing him that it didn't really change anything in terms of how you felt about him. And I think he needed to know that, because I feel like maybe he's had a pattern or a habit of, you know, protecting his heart, or, you know, blocking himself off for vulnerability or commitment with people, or maybe there was some fear of people getting too close, and he isolates himself, or he doesn't always prioritize other people, and like other people have cut him off. And maybe, I mean, you know, you've heard from other coworkers, other people have complained about him not being reliable. So he was probably anticipating or assuming that, okay, I did it again, you know, somebody's going to kind of disengage with me. They don't want anything to do with me. So like, what's the point? And you actually showed him that that's not the case. You treated him different than other people have treated him, which made him realize, okay, anxiety, stress, worry, concern. That's very much the 9 of Swords, that he probably didn't have to be worrying or, you know, dreading the situation. But also there could have been better communication between the two of you guys before going into work. Like, I think there was a lot of you going, I sent him this message, I told him how I feel, he didn't respond, like, what am I gonna do? Like, now is he cutting me off? And, you know, there's a lot of like unnecessary drama and anxiety and worry that's going on in both departments, because like he's not communicating very well. And I also think he needed that validation that was like, look, you still went and you still had a good time. He didn't totally crash the trip for you. If anything, you were more disappointed because like you had really hoped that not only he would come, but also that he would be more like, you know, compassionate for you in the situation because he bailed on you, and also would like care enough to respond to the message. So I think the 9 of Swords, to some extent, it can represent both of you guys having that anxiety prior to going into work, but it can also mean that I wouldn't let him off too easy, because the 9 of Swords can be him going like, oh my God, I thought he was going to hate me, or I didn't think he was going to talk to me again. And so to an extent, like, you know, you guys made up, you smooth it over, you're healing the dynamic with the Temperance card coming up, but just don't make it a pattern. Don't let this be like a reoccurring theme, because now he has like a sense of relief that's like, oh, he's not like other people who's just going to cut me off. You know, he's going to stay connected to me, and there's still a good emotional rapport, and you know, okay, we can balance things out, we can work things out. That's fine. He gets it past the first time, but don't let it become a pattern, because I feel like the 9 of Swords is him going, okay, I don't need to worry anymore, everything's fine, when in reality, no, if he continues to pull that, you're not going to be so understanding in the future. Now, the Temperance card is also saying like it can be about you know, timing. Like there can be a sense of, you know, things kind of getting worked out, revolving around his worry about whether or not you're going to cut him off, and, you know, your emotional kind of frustration and confusion. And this is also about proper timing for two people to come together. So I don't necessarily see this being a negative connection. I don't think there's any loss of a love or appreciation or attraction or interest on either side, maybe on yours, I don't know. But I'm not seeing this actually impacting a potential romantic future. But I do think the Temperance card is saying like there is a need to really slow down and kind of reassess the relationship and the balance. Like, you know, you came forward and you told him, I'm not upset with you, I'm just disappointed, and things were kind of cool. Let's see if he continues that dynamic. Is he able to now, you know, reach out to you, communicate with you? Is he going to kind of make up for, you know, that lost opportunity to go and travel by being like, hey, you know, let's plan something. I'll take you somewhere. Or, you know, let's go and hang out outside of work. I want to see if those scales kind of get recalibrated a little bit. And Temperance can be really good for healing or smoothing over some of the issues. Like likely this is just going to be a water is under the bridge situation. I think you will go back to working together and everything's going to be normal. But I do think that that Temperance card coming up with the Six of Swords is like, don't allow this to be a habit, because now you're really reevaluating, you know, hey, do I want to put myself out there again? Or do I want to make some kind of significant plans again? Like, is he going to bail? And this is also about the timing of two people being able to kind of come together. And part of me wonders, okay, he may have actually had a family emergency or something that went south, but clearly there's stuff that he's dealing with that he's not talking to people about. And there is either stress or worry or concern or obligation that is a weight that's on his shoulders, and he doesn't necessarily know how to talk to people about it or who to open up to about it. So I would hope that, you know, he's learning from this situation that if other people can forgive him and be compassionate with him, he also equally needs to be kind of vulnerable and upfront and tell people what's going on. Matt says, yeah, I'm definitely going to be nice and still banter, but I'm not letting him do that again. And at least I went on the trip and had a good time with friends. But yeah, he's definitely I'm going to have to let him make up for it. This can mean that this is like a real reassessment as you're getting closer to Sagittarius season. So it's kind of like November, December. It's like, okay, is there going to be a recurring pattern here? Don't let him off easy, because now he's like relieved. He's like, okay, he doesn't hate me, you know, but like, is he going to continue to do that? And also some of the things that you have heard from other coworkers where this is like a pattern and a habit that he has, whether he's isolating himself, whether there's something going on with family, there's something going on that he's responsible for and he doesn't know how to share with other people the stress of that particular responsibility, and the fact that it doesn't really allot him a lot of freedom when it comes to like his social life. But I am wondering if it will actually help and if it will end up being fruitful. Yeah, I do think so. Yeah. It will, because Temperance is saying you guys can like heal the relational dynamic, and like honestly, as far as I'm concerned, moving forward, I don't think there's going to be any weirdness unless he does, you know, unless he kind of bails again. But I think right now there's a lot of relief, and he's like, okay, he doesn't hate me, and everything is like cool, and we're able to smooth it over. But still, he didn't respond to you, you know. And so I also feel like that's you looking at the situation, going like, man, I really have to be the bigger person, because not only did he bail on the trip, but he didn't respond to me when I told him how I felt, and now I'm going into work, and he's not acknowledging that he, you know, got that message, and like now he's just acting like everything is fine. Like, you know. Matt says, oh, I'm reading the wrong question. But you had the same question. Okay. Sorry, your guys' colors look about the same. That's why I'm like, what? And I think the Temperance card is playing it cool. It's like kind of like waiting to see if he's going to be the one who's going to take any action or do anything that's going to kind of like make up for what he did. Like, is he going to be the one that's going to, you know, initiate something? Is he going to try to like smooth things over and make sure that things are healed? Not just assume everything is cool because of what took place and that you're going to plan the next kind of outing or like the next togetherness. No, right? Anyway, I hope that that's helpful. Now let me read Mary's, sorry, the colors are so similar. Mary's question. So let me add you to my level 4. And he says, thank you so much. Temperance energy, patience, but strong with myself. Love that. All right, Mary. She says, my question is, I am going to open a bakery in the next few months. And my ex Kiki, currently friend, wants to help me with the campaign. His intention is to keep me in the radar, but I'm wondering if he will actually help and if it'll end up being fruitful. So you're the one opening the bakery. Your ex Kiki, who's a friend, is going to help, and they're going to help you with the campaign. And you're wondering if he's actually going to help and if it will be positive. All right, well, let's take a look. What kind of a bakery? What do you specialize in? This is your opportunity to promote yourself on the internet. All right, so what can we tell Mary about this bakery sitch and whether or not it's a good idea to have Kiki involved and if they're actually gonna help? All right, in this order, I get the 7 of Cups, the 5 of Wands, and the Ace of Wands. So one of the things that I would say is that there can be almost like this assumption that they're going to handle everything that they're showing up or signing up to do, and there could be a lot of like missed signals or like miscommunication, all right? I'm getting the impression that obviously, like if you're a small business owner, if you're launching a business, you're doing something by yourself, there's just like a million things going on at one time. And the 7 of Cups can talk about you going like, well, you know, I have to deal with like the accounting, and I have to deal with like the build out, and I have to do with, you know, the promotion. I have to obviously do the baking, and I got to deal with like staff. Like there's a lot of things that are on your plate. And when the 7 of Cups comes up, it means that you can very easily get overwhelmed with having too much to do at one time. Some things can get overlooked. There can also be a tendency to not focus too much on one thing. And so going into the spread, this card represents like where your head is at. And that there's so many things you need to get done at one time that you're like, okay, obviously, you know, if I have somebody else who's willing to come in and help me, it's going to really help me, you know, deal with some of these irons in the fire. And just because you're potentially passing some stuff off to somebody doesn't necessarily mean that you guys are going to be on the same page. Okay, so if you're passing it off to them and they're going to be like, hey, you know, we're going to do the campaign, or we're going to do the ads or the promotion for things, like there could be things that they could do that you are not totally aware of. And that could mean, you know, color schemes, fonts, advertising, logos, whatever it is, they will be making some decisions, and you'll be like, when did this happen? And you won't even know. And so where there could be conflict with you and this other person is, number one, them making decisions without running it through you, because the 5 of Wands talks about kind of conflict and going back and forth about who's responsible for what or who's doing what or whatever. 2, it's also about assuming with the 7 of Cups that they're going to take on certain responsibilities or certain roles or duties that they're telling you they're going to do, when in reality, they may not necessarily meet deadlines, complete things, or consider you or involve you in some of these decisions, which could also lead to some tension. Even if you guys are cool, you know, regardless of your past romantic history, if you guys are friends now, I think more of the tension is going to stem from the fact that somebody is assuming somebody is doing something and there's like a miscommunication. So don't assume that just because they're going to, you know, tell you that they're going to help, that they're going to show up, they're going to be there, and they're going to be reliable. Have that conversation, have the meetings, talk about the timing, talk about the launch dates, talk about what you're working on, and if you're bringing them in to help you, make sure that they're aware of what you need them to do and communicate very specifically what you know tasks you're giving them to kind of delegate, and have them come back around so that way you can confirm things before things are like made permanent. 5 of Wands is also saying like it's a chaotic kind of combative energy. So I don't know when you're planning on opening, but I can tell you a lot of that's going to be tied to your personal astrology. But the next month is eclipse season. So what we're going to see with eclipse season is that there's lots of things that are ending and lots of things that are beginning. In particular, I think about people who are trying to kind of open their, you know, businesses or launch businesses. The latter part of September is going to be interesting because we are going to see a solar eclipse in Virgo, which is really good for, okay, we're starting new schedules, we're starting, you know, new locations, opening a new office or a new bakery in your case. The challenge is that there's going to be oppositions to Saturn. So we're going to see that over the next 6 months, in order to get into a schedule or routine, we're kind of facing some confusing or unknown or, you know, kind of like invisible barriers or like limitations, very much the 7 of Cups. And what we will also see is that during that eclipse, Mercury is going to trine Pluto in Aquarius. So it's about connecting and networking with people. Mercury will be in Libra, so it's good for partnerships. And it's also going to trine, you know, Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. So there is this sense of, I think with the eclipses, getting the word out, you know, connecting with people, promoting things that are connecting to weddings. Mercury in Libra is like wedding business. Orders, anything connected to holidays. It's also promoting media. So I think of like websites, social media, that kind of stuff. And where it takes a team to actually run a business. So, you know, like I said, going into it, don't assume that there's going to be a situation where they're just going to handle everything. Talk to them about what they can do, how much time they can dedicate, what they are going to specialize in, and be like, okay, go and do this thing. Let's sit down, let's hash it out and come back. So that way there isn't like conflict, because there can be some conflict. At the end, though, the Ace of Wands is a positive card. It is saying that, you know, you're very committed to seeing this through, and there's a lot of creativity, a lot of passion, a lot of excitement behind this. Really, it's about starting new ways of doing business, and there may be certain aspects to the business or promoting or media that is new to you that you're not used to doing. And this can mean that it's also about visibility. So visibility is a huge thing, because this is about being invisible or feeling like there isn't clarity. This is about feeling like there's a lot of competition. So something about this makes me feel like it's about, how do you stand out in a crowd? Like, how are you going to be seen as somebody who's different than some of the other bakeries or some of the other businesses that are out there? And it can be a really good idea to do something that's revolving around like, you know, an opening, a launch party, even if it's a soft launch, or if there is going to be, you know, like you're posting up, you know, in your location, or you're potentially saying, hey, now we're taking orders for the holidays, or now we're doing parties, or there's going to be something that's going to be drawing attention to the group and incentivizing people to kind of like want to connect with you guys. So the Ace of Wands tells me that it's going to do well. You might start to really see it kind of like kick into overdrive closer to Sagittarius season. This is the fire months. So that'll be like November, December. But obviously, if you're like a bakery, you know, like business is booming during the holiday time. And it might be that you're really getting ahead of it, not only because you're going to be opening soon, but also in preparation for, these are all the promotions and the specials and things that we're doing for the holidays, and letting people know like what's kind of happening with your business and keeping them in the now. So that way you're staying kind of visible seems to be the key. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. Mary says truffles, what is that? Madeleines and cookies? What is that? Opening in November, follow us. Okay, cool. What is that? Matches? It's a lot of S's. I'll have to check you out and see what you guys got, but I'm excited to see. Or is that matches? Yeah, matches, right? Okay, I don't know. I'm trying, my eyes are getting older, so it's harder for me to see everything. But I'll go and check you out and see what you guys have. I certainly love truffles. Truffles are some of my favorite. Good luck. Keep that friend in line. Make sure you guys are having meetings and stuff, so that way there's clarity with what you're doing. All right, let's head back to the queue. And if you guys are watching, you still want to get a reading, scan the QR code. You can get in the queue right now if you'd like to be next on my list. We have got Miss Taylor, Cassidy, Sasha, and Miss Martin. You guys, if you hear your name, that means I've got you. All right, so we'll take Alana next, and then Cassidy. What's up, Crystal? She says, I'm in Aries, though, Cancer rising, Scorpio moon, but I always say Gemini rising. I'm so confused. Well, thanks for watching. Sometimes if you're a later degree, you have to watch more than one video for your rising sign. Just depends on which system you use. All right, so Miss Taylor says, life right now feels so weird, but not in a bad way. Things are actually going well for me but Denver still feels so foreign as I make friends. Everything is just so different, and I don't know where I'm heading or what's in store for me coming up in the next 6 months. Any guidance would be amazing. All right, well, let's take a look. I'm excited for you to have that late Virgo rising, and you're going to have like an eclipse on your ascendant. You're also going to be, or I guess, aspecting your ascendant and also your 7th house. So it kind of feels like it's a new chapter for you in terms of being seen and also in relationships. So let's take a look and see what we can tell Alana about just in this new season of her life. She just recently moved to Denver, and she's still getting situated. All right, so this is kind of the overview for the next 6 months and what you need to know about being in Denver. I've got the Two of Swords, Wheel of Fortune, King of Swords. So a lot of sword energy, which is not necessarily bad. A lot of it's like finding your voice, connecting, communicating, kind of socializing. I almost feel like there is this sense that like you're sensing there's about to be a very big change. And you can tell that if you know there's going to be an eclipse on your ascendant. I think the last time we had an eclipse here was in the fall of 2015. 2004, if I remember correctly. So you need to make a mental note of that. Let me double check. I just want to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. But it's a part of that cycle that we had in 2004. So let's see. Let's go back in time here. Where is it? But I believe it was at 29 degrees of Virgo, if I remember correctly. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Aries, Sag, Scorpio. No, where was it? Sorry, this is gonna drive me crazy now. There's Aries. There is the Scorpio one, Libra one. That one's Aries. Was it 2005? Hold on, I promise you I will find it. 2006. Oh, no, I take it back. It was 2006. So in September of 2006, you had a solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo right on your ascendant. Make a mental note of that because it's very similar aspects. Same degree eclipse, Venus is in the same place, Mercury is in the same place, and a lot of it's going to be about what new cycles you're initiating and you're starting. So with the Two of Swords coming up, it can mean that you're like, okay, well, I'm hearing that there's about to be a big shift in my appearance, or, you know, there's going to be a big fresh start for me, or, you know, I'm going to be starting some new kind of cycle, and like, what does it mean? And you know, the covering of the eyes is like having to really listen to your gut or your intuition and making some decisions about what direction you're going to go in next. And it can mean with making friends, with meeting people, with relationships, with work, all of that stuff that's kind of coming up for you. And I feel like personally, like the Wheel of Fortune is saying that the good things that are coming, the things that are coming are good. You just can't see them quite yet. And change can be good. So when you say like, oh, this feels kind of like weird or kind of wacky, and like, I'm not really sure, you know, how I'm navigating like meeting people or doing things. First of all, you're gonna be in Denver. So obviously you're gonna wanna start getting social now before things start getting kind of cold. And you start seeing stuff kind of going down in the winter. It can mean that you're in a cycle or a season of change and that you can see some of the biggest changes happening during some of the fixed months. So we've been in Leo season. Next is going to be Scorpio season. Then we'll have Aquarius, and then we'll have, you know, spring, which will be Taurus season in April and May. But I think that the positive change that's actually coming is that you're going to be finding that there is going to be a connection to somebody. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be romantic. It can be, so keep your eyes out for an air sign, so like a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarius. Obviously King of Swords can be platonic, so it can be somebody that you meet who's just like a guy friend, or, you know, somebody that you know at meeting through work, or somebody that you're just kind of chit-chatting with and going back and forth with. But communication is going to be strong, and I feel like I don't think you're going to have any issues meeting people. Even though there's new people coming into your life and you're unsure of it and you're in a new location, I feel like this is going to be really good, and you're going to be meeting people who you have a lot in common with in terms of personal interests, because the swords can deal with like intellect and the podcasts you listen to, the things that you read, the interests that you have, the hobbies that you have. And you're really going to see that there is going to be like this spike in connection and communication, and having people that are in your corner that you feel like, wow, okay, these are my people. So this can also mean you're like doing some networking, or you're joining some clubs, or you're doing some stuff socially in you know, your local area where you're able to kind of connect and communicate. So I think of like the Wheel of Fortune and like the King of Swords as like, you know, do you go and join a book club? Do you decide that you want to go to a networking event? Do you decide that, you know, you want to go to an event where there's going to be like, you know, singles mixers? Do you join a trivia club, right? Things that are going to be more about communication and connection with people, and really feeling like that this is going to provide you with a new opportunity for getting to know others. I like it. I think it's going to be really wonderful, and I feel like the winds of change are definitely blowing in your direction, and you will see that it'll take about 6 months to 12 months for that eclipse to fully kind of materialize. Now, that eclipse that's on your ascendant, it opposes Saturn, so it's also going to be a lot of you going, well, what am I doing outside of a relationship? And I'm not necessarily just looking to meet somebody and date. Maybe I'm just wanting to start new hobbies, or get active, or, you know, get involved with, you know, some new kind of social connections. So it's more about the fun that you're having. It's more about the connection and like the interests that you have and the hobbies that are going to start growing. It's less about romance. So be focused on trying to meet people that's going to be kind of mentally stimulating and giving you the opportunity to talk about, learn about, or do the things that you enjoy. And watch for the Wheel of Fortune to kind of bring somebody into your life. That's definitely going to help you get situated more in some of these departments. But yeah, let me know what happens with that eclipse, because it's going to be a big one for you. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, who else do we have? After Miss Taylor, we've got Cassidy, Sasha, and Miss Martin. All right, so Cassidy, you're up next. And if you guys are wanting to get a reading still, you can get in the queue. We're going to call last call pretty soon, so we'll give it a couple minutes. And then we'll cut off the signups. Cassidy popped in and she said, what should my main focus be right now to have more fun and happiness in my life? I'm a Taurus rising, Virgo sun, Capricorn moon. Ooh, so you are an earth mama. I think of like the horoscope for the Taurus rising for the next month. It's going to be really interesting with some of the eclipses that are going to be happening in the 5th house. Obviously, you know, you're going to see oppositions between the 5th house, which is your joy, creativity, dating, and happiness, and it opposes Saturn. So first things first, I'm going to tell you is going into that, it's about not comparing yourself to other people. It's about not like keeping up with the Joneses. It's also about recognizing and realizing where you can go your own way. You can do something different than what your friends are doing. You can do something different than what you've always done. And there's going to be both a fixation and a priority on things that are going to make you happy and that you enjoy, but also you're going to notice a little bit of tension and some changes that can be happening in certain relationships with the eclipse in opposition to Saturn, right? So you might feel like, I'm feeling really joyful and really creative, but I've got some friends that are going through it, or they're feeling kind of down, or they've got issues with their relationships. And it's like, how much of that do you absorb, right? That's going to be something that I think that you're going to be thinking about a little bit. And as a Virgo sun, natally in your 5th house, creativity, happiness, and joy is fun, but you might feel like that's been a little few and far between with the South Node being there recently. But you can also tap into your creative joy and sense of self-expression as well. So what should the main focus be for happiness and fun in your life? We've got the Page of Pentacles, Magician, Knight of Wands. I think it's kind of cool that you got the Page of Pentacles, and you're also going to have a solar eclipse in your 5th house, right? So your sun's there, so clearly you're coming up on your birthday one way, shape, or form. So happy almost birthday, or belated, depending on what it is. I think that, you know, you had a new moon there. What was it, like a week or two ago in Virgo? It was at 0 degrees, which is interesting because that is 0 degrees, and then the solar eclipse is going to be 29. So clearly the universe wants you to really focus on joy and happiness and how to tap back into that, because the South Node is there. Also, I think that the upcoming solar eclipse can also be planting a seed. And so you get the Page of Pentacles, which can mean that you're learning a new hobby, you're investing your time or your money into something that makes you happy. Pentacles can be about skills and learning. It can also mean that there's something you're physically building or crafting or creating. And obviously Virgo in the 5th house is interesting for Taurus risings, because it's like, okay, you know, you're looking at this going, well, I want to create something, but I'm such a perfectionist in how I create. And you're having to learn to kind of detach with, I think, the South Node aspects from feeling like you have to be a perfectionist. And maybe that means you're dancing, you're painting, you're learning how to do something that you've never done before, and not beating yourself up because you're still kind of like an apprentice, or you're still like brand new to doing this. But also things like cooking, you know, working with like pottery, jewelry, anything connecting to writing and crafting can actually bring you a lot of joy throughout like the next couple of weeks with some of the transits in your 5th house. So this is about really investing yourself in a new hobby or something that you enjoy. It can be food related too. It can be gardening, right? Any earth kind of related things, which obviously your triple earth you're gonna like, you can do over the next couple of weeks. And the Magician card coming up is saying, like, you might surprise yourself that some of these things you actually really enjoy, or you're really good at, or you realize that you have like a hidden talent or something that you didn't quite know if you'd be good at it, but now you're getting into the hang of it. You're like, I love it. And you feel like this is like an opportunity for you to do more of this thing. It also means that there could be more like romance and enchantment and other things going on in your 5th house. It can bring up some romantic opportunities for you for sure. Obviously, Mars is going into Scorpio at the same time. So I think a lot of Taurus and Taurus risings are going to have lots of good relationship opportunities over the next couple of weeks. And the Magician can be saying there are things that are kind of playing out connected to this that you didn't anticipate or expect, whether that's hobby-wise or relationship-wise or like romantic surprises. It can be really good. And then the final card is the Knight of Wands. So this is obviously tied to the element of fire. So Aries, Saggies, Leos can kind of come into your life. It could also mean that you're taking more risks, more creative risks. Maybe you're a little bit more physically active, or you're doing things that are kind of outside of your usual kind of like hobby wheelhouse. This can mean there's opportunities also for traveling or creative self-expression, or that you're taking risks. Like 5th house is risks, romantic risks, creative risks, gambling even, trading. And I think with the Knight of Wands coming up, it's saying that you're feeling really incentivized to just get started, to be doing things that are going to be more fun. They may be a little bit more physically active, or things that are going to require you to kind of like run around more, travel, or be a little bit more like active when it comes to your dating routine, or when it comes to, your hobbies. But it's going to be exciting and exhilarating. And I think it's like not boring. So maybe you're feeling like you're going through things pretty quickly, fire. To see what potential interests kind of stick, or what you're good at. But whatever is going to feel like the most exhilarating is going to be what you're going to ultimately kind of stick with, I think, the most. Don't be afraid to disappoint some people. I would say part of the eclipses in your 5th house in opposition to Saturn is you become so immersed in a relationship or a new hobby or something that you're designing or building that you're going to have to say no to some people. You're going to have to say, sorry, no, I'm actually going to my dance class, or no, I've got a hot date. Like I can't, hang out, or, that's interesting, but I'm not interested in doing that. I'm really into this right now. So there's going to be a lesson in, I think, the next 6 months of really prioritizing the things that you enjoy, your happiness as well, and that you're going to have to create some buffers with some people socially in order to really kind of make time for some of these 5th house things. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Let me know what manifests, and enjoy those eclipses. We're calling last call on the readings right now. So if you guys want to get in there, you can get in there before we shut it down. We've got Sasha, Miss Martin, and Joshua. You guys are all in my queue. Sasha, what's going on, Sasha? She says, just a general love reading. Love your tarot Fridays. Well, thanks, Sasha. I appreciate it. Let's see what we can tell you about what's going on with your general love life. All right, Tarot, what can we tell Sasha about her love? What does she need to know? Ooh, that one. Oh, I pulled like 3 of them. Okay. Ooh, all right. I pulled the one that was on top. You got the Knight of Cups. So obviously, one of the better cards you can pull if you're asking questions about your love life. This is kind of like the Knight in shining armor. Watch for signs that are water signs. Cancer, Scorpios, Pisces. This can be a theme. It can also be highlighting the up and coming lunar eclipse in Pisces. And like, does it get much better than this card? I mean, this is about somebody who's charming, who is very alluring, attractive, romantic. I feel like the Ace of Cups, the Page of Cups, and the Knight of Cups are all cards that correlate with new people coming into our lives, or feeling like we're falling in love, or that there is an opportunity to believe in love again, or there's some kind of like mysticism or, like magnetic connection that you have with someone. And Knights are always about something that's coming your way. It's mobile because it's on a horse. So it can be, a romantic, flirty text. It could be an invitation. It could be somebody who you just like run into. And usually they show up around their element. So I would say like it can be kind of leaning in the direction of Scorpio season, or somebody who's got that kind of energy in their chart. But it can also mean that this is about you kind of trying to be more heart-centered and trying to be more open when it comes to relationships, that you're like actively looking and you're seeking. And that if somebody kind of, crosses paths with you, or if like the right person kind of catches your eye, like there could be like a very romantic, very chemistry driven, like kind of period where you're, connecting with someone, and then it's just like taking off, because you can't really slow horses down, right? They just kind of do their thing. This is also about listening to your gut and your intuition in relationships, and that whatever is coming in for you right now, there is a sense of you going, okay, if it's meant to be, this person's going to show up, and, they're going to have this particular, kind of sign or symbol, or there's going to be this that I'm looking for. Like, I would recommend being specific. I always like make this reference, but one of my favorite movies is Practical Magic. So, you know, in that movie where she's like, he has to have, you know, a star, and he has to have one green eye and one blue. And like, so there's very specific things she says about him. And then in the movie, the sheriff shows up. He's got the star. He's got 2 different colored eyes, right? So be specific about what you're envisioning when it comes to relationships, or what you're looking for, or those signs or those symbols. So when that person shows up, you're going to be like, ding, because there is the potential with the Knight of Cups that there can be, you know, kind of feeling like you're under the waves of Neptune, and that there's a connection with somebody, and you can get wrapped up in like the physical connection and the romance of it all. But nights can ride in and nights can ride out. So it can be somebody who kind of sweeps you off your feet, but they're not necessarily a king. So try to get clear about what you're looking for in relationships. Watch for that opportunity and be open to invitations and connecting with people, and get those intentions in order so you know how to tell that it's him. Good luck. All right, and we're going to call last call here. We've got Miss Martin and then Joshua. What's up, Miss Martin? All right, she says 9979. So happy almost birthday, girl. Right around the eclipse, you're going to have your birthday. That's magical. She says, what's next for my career? I work for the CDC and a lot is going on. How do I say this without being too forward? The solar eclipse that's coming up, that's going to be in Virgo around the 21st. It is literally about health systems and services, okay? That eclipse is going to shine a light on stuff that we have not seen, that we did not know collectively. New moon solar eclipses are about new things that are getting initiated. That's going to kind of have a ripple effect for about 6 to 12 months. So some of the effects of this is going to play out all the way until like the spring, even, I mean, maybe even the fall of next year. When that eclipse comes through, it's in Virgo, which is about health, services, and anything connecting to jobs. And it will oppose Saturn that is retrograde in Pisces, which means that likely collectively, huge sweeping changes for medical industries, for anything connecting to obviously health and regulations and hospitals. And obviously it opposes Saturn, which is restrictions, limitations, and things that are slowing down. So it's safe to say that I do think within 6 months, we're going to see massive government layoffs with jobs. I'm not saying we will just see that. We're also going to see major changes to some of the health regulations and some of the protocols and some of the services, and also leadership and laws and regulations revolving around some of these particular groups. I talk about this a lot in my webinar. So things are going to happen, and you're saying a lot's going on, but there are some things that even the employees, which is Virgo, do not know. So there are going to be employees for certain branches of government and also departments that do not know that there is going to be changes with their bosses, do not know that there's going to be layoffs, do not know that there is going to be also major shifts happening with where they're working or how they're working. So get ready for it. All right, so let's see what you need to know in regards to your career now that you have that information. And what can we tell Miss Martin, giving her a card for the 6 months ahead? Page of Swords. Well, it's good to be informed, right? So you seem to know that there are things that are changing and that there's conversations going on about some of the shifts. It's about staying up to date with some of this stuff, like knowing the information that's coming out, but also the internal conversations that are going on. And I think that means there's going to be a lot of updates of information and regulations and like training and certification. It also means that you're going to be learning a lot, and this is going to be through new information, data, and stuff that's kind of coming in pertaining to your job. So does that mean that there's going to be a job cut? You got to look at what's going on with your 6th house, what's going on with your 10th house. I don't think it automatically means that. But obviously, you know, you've got an eclipse that's going to be taking place right around your birthday. So your sun has to be somewhere around, 15, 16, 17 degrees of Virgo. So Saturn's no longer opposing your sun, so that's good. And obviously a lot of Virgo suns in general with Uranus and Gemini are having potential job changes. So you could see that this year, you could see that also next spring. My advice is to stay informed, communicate, and make sure that you're getting the necessary information pertaining to some of these updates with your job. This can mean also that there's new training that's going to be going on, or that there's going to be, new certifications that people have to go through, or that there is going to be re-education, or that there is going to be meetings. Like communication is going to be a huge focus. And obviously this can also mean that there's, going to be more meetings, there's more emails, there's more back and forth. You can keep an eye on, the Page of Swords can mean, well, I'm having to speak more with my, my superiors, or I'm having to request things, or, ask for verification, or for, the freedom to be able to do certain things. But as long as you're communicating well and you're kind of staying up to date with some of the changes that are happening, I think it's fine. You may tinker with the idea of updating resumes, updating profiles, updating email accounts, or anything kind of connected to communications at work. And you may also consider doing some kind of electional, type of training or certification in other fields or in other areas of study. So it may not necessarily be connected to work per se, but you might be like, I'm going to see what else is kind of going on out there, or, how else I can apply some of my skills, or, are there other departments that I can transfer to? Because that's also a part of the Page of Swords, of being kind of curious and being willing to stay open when it comes to the area that you're actually working in. Pluto also in Aquarius for a lot of Virgos, it's like making some big changes going on at work. And you've seen, throughout the retrograde that's been happening the last couple of months, both the Mercury retrograde and the Mars, it's been in your 12th house, which means there's a lot of secret things and a lot of drama going on behind the scenes, and it's opposing Pluto in your 6th. So there's been work tension and kind of changes going on with departments. Now you're going to start to kind of finally see over the next couple of months how that's actually manifesting. But if you stay informed and you stay connected, I think you're going to be just fine, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you, and I hope you enjoy your birthday. That's fun to have an eclipse around your birthday. That means it's a big year for you ahead. All right, we have got Joshua. You were the last one, Joshua. Readings are now closed. And let's see what Josh says. Josh says, I separated from my husband since March of this year, looking to start school to get my career started. I'm scared and nervous about both, but I'm hoping both will work out, and I'm looking for some guidance. I'm a Capricorn rising with a Pisces sun and Aries moon. All right, well, it sounds like Saturn's kicking your butt, dude. Saturn and Neptune going into Aries is a lot of life on my own, being independent. And now that they're both retrograding back into Pisces, it's about going to school, education, even remote learning is good with that being in the 3rd house. And then obviously as a Pisces sun, Saturn's also somewhere around your solar sign. And that can also be a big turning point for learning and communication if it's in your 3rd. Pisces sun, Aries moon. So you're getting hit both ways with Saturn. It's like, what's concluding and completing, or what am I going back to? And then what new things am I starting? So changes at home and also changes with education makes sense. I think a lot of Pisces suns are going through changes in relationships in particular because, well, the South Node is in opposition to your sun. So changes with that. So let's kind of take a look. Let's see what the cards are saying. What do you need to know about, making these changes in your career and going back to school? And the changes in your relationship and what the cards want you to know. We have got the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the 5 of Cups. So it's interesting that there's 2 queens popping up. So this can mean that there are outside relationships that are kind of influencing or impacting you in some way when it comes to these changes. So look for support that's coming from fellow fire signs or air signs that can play a huge role in some of the shifts that are going on. But also there's a graduation here because obviously, we've got the Queen of Wands, which is going to be more about the drama, the necessary action that has to happen. And kind of sometimes it manifests as having to burn things down and starting over, and then realizing what your true passion or your true purpose or your true interest is. And then once you kind of work through some of the fallout of realizing oh my God, everything's changing, which by the way comes in 3s, relationship, home, and usually job. You see them all across the board in the same way. So it sounds like you're in that, season of 3 things changing. You're going to see this progress from the Queen of Wands where at least you're opening up to okay, these are the things that have been going wrong. Now I'm going to do something about it. And that's also the theme of Pisces and Aries. So it's cool that you have both because Aries is independent, pioneering. Okay, I'm going to do this new thing. I'm going to live this new life, right? I'm going to, go back to school. But the retrogrades that are going back into your 3rd house is saying, but how does that make you feel, right? But what are you learning? And like, what are you learning to kind of communicate differently? And how is it shifting the way that you're moving through life, and also coming to terms with what actually needs to be concluded or coming to an end before you have this new beginning? So I see it as you going, I'm learning from the process. I'm becoming more confident in what I'm learning and how I'm communicating. Certainly too, women can play a really significant role in your life. So it can be counselors, it could be mentors, it could be, you know, a mother or a sister or a best friend who are helping you through this process and kind of holding you accountable and making sure that you're staying on task. Because a lot of this is about being present with the energy and what's kind of changing, and being enthusiastic and optimistic about the new things that are coming. On the other hand, the fact that, you know, the Queen of Swords is looking at the Five of Cups, it means that it's also about not falling back into old patterns. And that may come up for you during the Neptune and the Saturn retrograde back into Pisces, of sadness, isolation, limitation, you know, not reaching out, not asking for help. And when I see the Five of Cups coming up, I always tell clients, like, don't get stuck here, because this can mean that you get so fixated on what hasn't been working or what you had to leave behind, or, you know, the emotions of the changes with the relationship and obviously life pivoting and going in a different way, that you can lose sight of, you know, what is happening and that it's happening for good reason. Clearly the Three of Cups is, well, you could be upset and crying about, you know, I have to change my job, or the relationship ended, or, you know, I am having to move. And if you fixate on that, you don't move forward as quickly, and you also don't really kind of like learn to appreciate some of the changes. Obviously, like when you're, you know, when you're going through it, you can't always see the forest through the trees. So I think a lot of Aries and also, you know, Pisces placements are going to be feeling for the next couple of months, man, you know I have to move forward, but I'm still grieving what I kind of left behind. And that's okay. Just don't lose sight of the fact that there are new relationships coming in. There are new opportunities. There's going to be people who are going to want to help you too. Two of Cups is like a relational energy. So it can mean that there's people who want to help you with your career. There's friends that are going to be there to support you. There may even be new love opportunities for you kind of in the mix here. And we just don't want to get kind of stuck on the woulda, coulda, shoulda. We want to be forward thinking, full steam ahead, focusing on what we're doing. And if there's anything that we need to kind of tie up, use the next couple of months to kind of tie some of this stuff up. But stay connected and make sure you have community. Particularly, you know, it looks like strong, independent, encouraging women who are going to be there to support you along the way, so you're not falling back into old patterns and kind of beating yourself up. So having like accountability partners or people who are doing things with you outside of work or outside of your schooling, I think can be really beneficial for you in the long run. Hopefully that's helpful, and you're moving through this season of change in a swift kind of positive manner. I definitely think you could do it. All right, guys. Well, with that being said, apologies for the glitch. I don't know. Maybe Mercury is still doing its thing. It happens from time to time. Thanks for hanging out with me on Friday. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that bell button below. Don't forget to check out my fall webinar that we have. That is probably linked in the description. You guys can find it at my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. Stay tuned, because this Sunday we have Mercury entering Virgo. That's the hot topic for the week. And if you're a level 4 member, or if you joined memberships this month, guess what? You guys can go and watch that video early. You get early access if you are any member, any level. And if you're a level 4, you also can go and watch that webinar for free. You have instant access, so go and check it out if you want to see what the eclipses mean for you. I'll be back next week. We're going to be doing the lunar eclipse in Pisces, so make sure you guys sign up early for that. We have a ton of people that come through for the eclipse readings, and I hope you guys enjoy your readings and the rest of your weekend. I'll see all of you guys back here on Sunday. Take care.